I feel like some of my most asked questions are, how did you get started? How did this all begin? Most people only know me for my styling, but obviously my life is so much bigger than just that. And I thought I would share my story. So essentially, the biggest thing I think that shaped the early chapters and the early days of my life and really trickled into my adult life was what happened to me when I was in the third grade. When I was a young kid, I was bullied in the most horrific, most awful, most scary way from the time I was in the third grade until the day that I graduated high school. I don't know why. I don't know why it happened to me. I don't know. And I don't say that from like a victim mindset. I've done a lot of inner work and I've tried to understand what my part is in that, but I just don't think I had one. I think it was like my soul's curriculum and it was just the beginning of like a rough road. And really, I share that to say for so long I was so guarded because of the bullying, because of my inability to connect with other people. I felt like I missed the guidebook that everyone else got to life. Like everyone else knew how to like be, and I felt like there was this giant hole missing inside of me. And I now acknowledge that as like my alcoholism and my drug addiction, and this just sort of, we talk about this like God-sized hole within ourselves. And it really amplified it as a bullied kid. And then as I've done all this work on myself and realized that I'm actually extremely empathic and extremely sensitive, and obviously that was with me at that young age, like this poor little girl who is probably so sensitive and empathic to these feelings and why is this happening to me. I really shut down. That's just the bottom line. And drugs and alcohol, this is not what makes me an addict, but I think drugs and alcohol became the solution to those feelings of feeling like I don't know where to go. I found a couple people that I could fit in with that all happened to party, and I went down a very dark road very fast in high school. I found friends who were partying and, I mean, truthfully doing a lot of cocaine. And I can't believe I'm saying that to you, but I found myself heavily addicted to cocaine by the time I was 16 years old. And thankfully, by the time I was 17, my family literally saved my life and put me into treatment. But I think those early days were really about not feeling safe and like not feeling like I had anywhere to go. And those feelings have followed me long into my adult life, you know? And part of one of my worries about starting this podcast is I took a big break from sharing on social media because I was experiencing online bullying, and it was really triggering to that little girl, you know, who grew up like this. And I'm sure people don't know that. And again, not in a victim way, like don't say anything mean to me, but also I think the internet forgets that we're all just like these little beings walking through earth with this pain and this like suffering that no one is exempt from. And we all carry different childhoods and different experiences with us. And when I was getting bullied now as like an adult, you know, online, it really just hit so deep in me. And I've had to do a lot of work of like, I was just saying to my crew in this room right now is like, you know, no matter what I do, someone's not going to like me. That's okay, I guess. It's still really hard for me because of that like little girl who just wanted to be liked, but I can't make everyone happy. And so I just felt like I have so much to offer, and that's why I'm here today. So, you know, the beginning of my sobriety was a crazy journey. It was not something that I ever in a million years thought that would become like who I was or my life. I knew that I had a problem while it was happening, but I think I thought that like one day I would snap my fingers and I would just snap out of it and go back to like being normal, you know, and not being drug addicted. I thought I had a choice, and then I quickly realized that I didn't, and I went down a really dark path really fast, like I said, and I was sent to rehab. I spent 4 months in a rehab center, and thank God my family like saved me from that. I don't think I would have made it if they had taken me out sooner. I think that full 4 months was really needed for me to like recalibrate. So when I got out of there, I immediately got connected with AA, and I've been a member ever since. I think I pretty much did everything my sponsor told me to do in the first year. I really dedicated myself to my program, to not going out. I wasn't around drugs and alcohol. I just really put my head down. I did the work, and I started to like come out of this really dark place. Coming out of that, I was able to start seeing that I had options, you know, and things started happening for me in my early sobriety that were sort of like these glimmers of God or universe or whatever. I'll tell you guys this one story. It was really crazy. I had this counselor's assistant in rehab, and she was like my light. I really had a hard time living with a bunch of girls after, like I mentioned, the bullying. It was really hard for me to trust women. And I was in this place, you know, by myself essentially, and this one counselor just took like a liking to me, and we just had this like instant soul connection. I didn't really know what that meant at the time, but I just felt like I knew this woman, and like she was my person. She would sneak me extra cigarettes, and I don't smoke anymore, by the way, but at the time. And she would like, we started a garden together. Like here I was, this little fucking drug addict 17-year-old like gardening with her, but I just loved this woman, and I never knew why. Like she just was my, anyway. So one day we're talking, and she mentions that she had used to live in New York City. And I said, oh, that's where I grew up. Like, where did you live? And she said the address. And I was like, I thought like my head exploded. And I was like, what did you just say? You just said my address. What? And she goes, yeah, no, I lived at such and such address 18 years ago. And I'm looking at her, and I'm like, but that's the building I grew up in. I don't understand. And it turned out in her active addiction, she lived in the apartment directly below the one that I was born in. And then 17 years later, she's here. I have the chills. I usually cry when I tell this story, but here she was 17 years later taking care of me.